Now then, hello folks and welcome back to my video gaming channel RetroGamerDiaries. Today we're talking about the Sega-Cd or the Mega CD game Final Fight CD. Love this game and I purchased it on the week of the launch, such a good game. Final Fight CD was ported by A-Wave and published by Sega under license from Capcom in 1993. Final Fight is a series of beat-em-up video games by Japanese publisher Capcom, which began with the arcade release of the Final Fight in 1989. Set in the fictional Metro City within the Street Fighter universe, the games focus on a group of heroic vigilantes who fight against the control and various threats of criminal gangs, primarily the Mad Gear Gang. The series has sold 3.2 million units worldwide as of December the 31st in 2019. Let's have a little look at the arcade game, eh? The game also came out in the Super Nintendo. The original Final Fight for the SNES included the playable characters Hagar and Cody, but it did not include Guy and also omitted the two-player feature. An updated 1992 release, Final Fight Guy, did include Guy but not Cody, but still lacked the two-player feature. The SNES version also excluded the industrial area stage, and also most of the scene transitions were also edited out. In the arcade version, the player characters would be seen exiting the levels and breaking through the doors, unlike the SNES version. Due to hardware limitations, the SNES version could only display 2 or 3 enemies on screen, in contrast to the CPS arcade version, which could display up to 9 or 10 enemies on screen. To make up for the differences, the SNES version features more stopping points than the arcade version, and the enemy placement is vastly different. Final Fight CD hit the Sega-Cd in 1993, several years after its debut in arcade and 2 years after the SNES port hit the US. This port was kindly remembered for having all characters within the game and even two-player co-op just like the arcade. But it's also its soundtrack composed for the port and the so-so voice acting. Out of all the ports, the CD version was the closest to the arcade as one could get, and has become a gem among many titles that system provided during its time in the gaming era. The Sega CD version of Final Fight also had an exclusive time attack mode, which was pretty cool. However, the maximum number of on-screen enemies were still lower than the arcade version, and the combo attacks of Cody and Guy are much slower. Furthermore, the graphics suffered from a more limited colour palette, as well as fewer background details. Like the SNES version, the Mega CD version was censored for the English localization, with many of the same changes. Poison and Roxy were kept but were redrawn with less revealing clothing. Okay, so let's have a look at the Sega CD version in more detail. Let's start by looking at the intro.
Metro City, a well-known crime capital, has been ruled by violence and death for many years. A a fact which the newly elected mayor and former street fighter Mike Hager plans to change. At the center of the problem is the huge gang known as Mad Gear. Mad Gear controls all of the major criminal activity in the city. When they learned of Hager's plans, they took immediate action to bring this new mayor under their control. Sometime in 1992.
Hello, Mike Hager here.
Hee, Mr. Hager. So pleased to make your acquaintance. I believe you know who I am. Don't hang up. We have a little business proposition for you. Your daughter for your cooperation. And we'll throw in the regular monthly bonus to your salary we offered before.
What? What happened to Jessica? Who is this?
Not so fast, Mike. Turn on your TV.
You son of a... What have you done to her?
Nothing yet, but we'd enjoy the opportunity. Listen to reason, man. Why make your job difficult? Just let us do as we please, like the mayor before you did.
Guy, Jessica was kidnapped.
Jessica?
My sweetheart since childhood.
The Mad Gear must pay. She's my friend too. Count me in.
The game stars 3 protagonists. You have Hager, an ex-wrestler turned mayor of Metro City, his friend and future son-in-law Cody, and their friend a ninja named Guy. Final Fight CD begins as the ripped mayor receives a phone call. It's the local crime syndicate, the Mad Gear Gang, and they've kidnapped Hager's daughter Jessica. That's not good, is it? The 3 friends take it to the streets as they fight their way across town to rescue her. What's interesting about this version of the game is the fact that the introduction is animated and fully voiced. It's certainly cheesy for sure, but a nice addition nevertheless. Final Fight CD is the only version that has this enhanced opening sequence. Gameplay is virtually unchanged from the original release. It's basically a typical beat 'em up game where you walk up, down, left and right as you fight groups of incoming enemies. Each character has a combination attack, jump, a throw and a desperation move that knocks away all nearby enemies. All 3 characters play differently from one another, and thankfully no one was omitted from the roster this time around. In your face, Nintendo. Hager is slow, but by far the strongest. Cody is average in every area, and Guy is a little weaker, but the faster of the 3. Personally, I preferred Guy. I liked all that martial arts moves he had. Particularly that roundhouse kick he done. And while I only play with Guy, it's pretty handy to have Cody and Hager, especially now that you can play with a second player. Anyway, let's have a look at the game, eh? Well, there you go, that was round 1. What I've always liked about Final Fight is the challenge the game offers. You're always outnumbered, even when fighting with a second player, and the enemies feature very distinct attack patterns. Their normal foes simply walk up and start punching, but others flip through the air, throw explosives and more. The enemy roster is very diverse and quite interesting. One of my favourite enemies is Ondor, who is obviously a nod to Andre the Giant. The game is filled with a lot of early 90s references and cliches, and that's one of its charms. It feels like a very Japanese view on mainstream America. It is cheesy and delightful in this regard. As I was saying earlier, Final Fight CD can be quite difficult because you constantly have enemies coming in from all directions. The bosses in particular can be a little frustrating. They're often fast and hard to hit. They use long-ranged attacks or send waves of enemies at you to give them an unfair advantage. I really like this bonus stage where you beat the shit out of this car. It's copying exactly the same kind of bonus stage you see in Street Fighter 2, but they also beat up a car. At times the game may feel cheap at times, but at least this time around you're allowed to take a friend with you to even the odds. For me, the co-op mode, if you're really serious about finishing the game, is the only way to play as far as I'm concerned. Again, I don't want to rub the Super Nintendo, the SNES fan base's noses in it, but you know, it was a crime that this wasn't an option in the Super Nintendo release. So for me, it means that this is the definitive home version of the game. Let's have a look at the rest of this level using the 2-player mode. Absolutely love 2-player mode. The Super Nintendo version of this game was heavily censored for younger gamers, but thankfully most of the changes here aren't nearly as substantial. Poison now appears as a woman, and the only major difference is her clothes were made less revealing. In addition, the content that was removed in the SNES version have made a return here, which is great. The original home release was also missing an entire level, and I'm happy to say that that's not the case here. The Sega-Cd version even includes multiple difficulty settings, as well as a time attack mode that wasn't in any other release of this game. Aside from including missing content and settings, the most substantial upgrade was to the soundtrack. Thanks to the CD quality, Audio Sega was able to completely rearrange the music to the point that it's hardly recognisable in the best way possible. It's as if someone very talented took a modern whirl at remaking the music. It has a heavy jazz influence, but that fits in with the cityscape setting and graphics. It also helps further cement the early 90s feel for the title. This is the only version of Final Fight with this music, and in my opinion it makes the definitive release even over the original arcade coin-op machine. Great music, fantastic. It's going well, this, isn't it? There doesn't seem to be any negative comments so far about this game. However, there is a but. Unfortunately, this is one of the worst looking versions of the Final Fight. The Sega-Cd unfortunately doesn't seem as powerful as the Super Nintendo because it's even further from the arcade version visually. The colours are the major downgrade and the hardware appears to have had problems blending them well. This leads to a pixelated gradient look that isn't particularly pretty. This causes some loss of detail in the character models and backgrounds, but it isn't a significant downgrade if I'm being honest either. Another issue is that the game just doesn't display as many enemies on screen at once. This isn't a huge deal, but it is noticeable nonetheless. Anyway, on that note, here's another bonus stage. Okay, so before I give my full review, let's look at the rest of the stages of the game. So here we are at Bay Area. Our objective is to make a long nighttime journey along Metro City's bay to face down Abigail. You'll certainly notice that the game is much easier and moves much faster in 2-player mode. I found in 1-player mode it took about 1 to 2 hours to complete the game. However, in 2-player you can half that time. It's definitely much more fun in 2-player mode. Now we have reached the edge of Mad Gear's stronghold. Here we must fight our way down a block and into a high-rise building to reach its elevator. It's getting quite exciting, this, isn't it? Now we're on the roof, so now we have to proceed into the penthouse and confront Belger, who rides a motorised wheelchair and holds Jessica captive. During the fight, Belger is knocked out of his chair, letting Jessica go, and eventually smashes through a window to fall to his death. Now we're at the ending sequence. After Hagar comforts Jessica, she runs after Guy and Cody and catches up as they walk off down the street. She calls Cody's name, prompting a jealous Guy to knock him down and leave. Cody leaves Jessica, saying that he cannot be with her as long as evil roams the streets.
Oh, Father, I was so scared.
I'm so glad to see they didn't hurt you. I'm so sorry, Jessica. I thought I'd lost you like I lost your mother. I'll never let anything bad happen to you again.
I love you, Father. Cody! Where are you going? How can you just walk away now?
I want to stay here with you, Jessica, but I can't. Not while evil still stalks the street.
Oh, Cody.
Both the intro and ending sequences look, well, okay. It's about what you would expect from animated sequences of the Sega-Cd platform. They feature only a little animation than the original arcade release. I've always enjoyed the grungy early 90s art style of Final Fight. This version retains that look rather well. Now for me, Final Fight CD falls short of Streets of Rage 2 visually, but it more than makes it up for in style. This is a pretty good looking release by 16-bit standards, though I generally would have expected something a little more from the Sega-CD technology, to be honest. Okay, that was Final Fight CD. It is easily the very best version of one of the greatest beat-em-up games of all time. Every mistake made with the SNES release has been rectified here, and the improved soundtrack actually pushes this one above the arcade version for me. The new additions and fixes more than make up for the slightly downgraded graphics, and everyone who owns a Sega-Cd needs to add this to their collection. This is the definitive version of Final Fight, bar none. Therefore, I'm going to rate this game 9 out of 10 stars. Loved playing this game. Well, there you go, folks. That was my short review of the Sega-Cd game Final Fight CD. If you liked my video, then please press the like button. You can also leave a comment. I will certainly do my best to try get back to you. However, as always, it would be brilliant if you would subscribe to my channel and join my gang. Much appreciated, and I will certainly try and join your channel as well. See you later, you beautiful people. Until the next time, bye bye.